Leon Kennedy didn't escape Raccoon City, he survived it. And in Resident Evil, those aren't the same thing, because according to this document shown in the new trailer, the survivors of Raccoon City are dying, not from a new outbreak, but from something that never left. They're calling it Raccoon City Syndrome, and Leon is on that list. Okay, let's start with this document. It describes something called Raccoon City Syndrome. Long-term effects from T-virus exposure in survivors. This isn't a sudden infection, it's something that's been dormant for decades. The implications are terrifying. Residuals from the T-virus remained inside survivors for nearly 28 years. Not active enough to trigger mutation, not aggressive enough to be noticed. Their immune systems kept it suppressed. But here's the thing, viruses don't just disappear, they adapt, especially when they're forced to coexist inside a host for decades. What you end up with isn't that chaotic, unstable mess that was the T-virus from '98. You get a strain that survived immune response. That's natural selection inside a human body. And here's the sad part, we're talking about survivors we know, people we care about. Leon, Jill, Ada, Claire, Sherry, hell, even Chris and Rebecca were exposed to the T-virus in the mansion. They all made it out of Raccoon City alive, but not forever. Now, according to this document, multiple survivors have already died, which means this isn't evolution into something stronger, it's evolution into death. Right before the end of this cycle, the virus inside of them reaches a refined state. Fully adapted, fully matured. That's what Gideon wants. That's what he's after. Not the original T-virus, but what it became after 28 years of survival. A perfected strain harvested at the moment of failure. But why? Why take virus samples from dying hosts? Because decades of adapting inside a human body does something Umbrella never achieved in a lab. It introduces more nature into the experiment. It forces the virus to learn to balance aggression with survivability. The original T-virus caused chaos. It was unstable and unpredictable. But this strain survived inside a host for 28 years. That builds resilience. That creates almost the perfect virus. Now, Gideon isn't chasing raw power. He's chasing a version of the virus that learned how not to immediately destroy its host, to coexist but also change them. But here's the problem. Even a refined, almost perfect T-virus like this is still aggressive. Mutation still tears the body apart eventually. So if Gideon wants something sustainable, something scalable, something controllable, he needs a counterweight. And Resident Evil already introduced it, the mold. In Resident Evil 7, the mold demonstrated two abilities we really haven't seen from a virus. First is regeneration. It rebuilds tissue. It repairs structural damage, and it allows the host to survive injuries that would instantly kill a T-virus carrier. The second and most unique is connection. The mold links infected minds through a shared consciousness. It doesn't just spread, it synchronizes. Now imagine combining that with the refined Raccoon City strain. The T-virus provides aggression, rapid mutation, and is extremely lethal. The mold provides regeneration, is structurally sound, and network control. If the T-virus mutates, the mold will repair it. If the T-virus spreads chaos, the mold will organize it. Alone, they are unstable, but together, they compensate for each other's weaknesses. But even that hybrid has a problem. Regeneration doesn't equal stability. Without regulation, the mutation will spiral. And that's where the controller comes in. We've seen this model before. Evelyn. Evelyn wasn't just infected, she was the center of the mold network. In RE7, the infection radiated from her. She was the hive. But as most things, Evelyn did have her flaws. She wasn't perfect. For starters, she aged rapidly. In 3 years, she went from a 10-year-old to an 80-year-old woman. She was also very emotionally unstable. But the biggest flaw was that she required close contact to spread infection. Yes, she was very powerful, but she wasn't scalable. Now look at the girl in white from the new trailer. She doesn't look unstable, she looks aware, she looks very calm considering the circumstances. What if she isn't just infected or just some experiment? What if she's the central node of this hybrid strain? If the refined T-virus provides controlled aggression and the mold provides regeneration and connection, then the system needs a central point, a mind, to coordinate it all. That's her. Every infected individual linked through this hybrid strain would synchronize through her. But here's the catch. Without regulation, the hybrid strain mutates way too far. The body breaks. It becomes something like the hag and possibly the other stalker types we will see in this game. She becomes the monster. Not because she was meant to be, but because the system needs balance. This is where Grace comes in particular, her blood. Without Grace's blood stabilizing the fusion, the little girl doesn't remain a hive mind. She becomes obsolete, just another failed experiment. And if she falls, the entire network falls with her. That's why Grace matters. She isn't there to cure the outbreak or to save anyone. She's here to keep the controller from collapsing into chaos. Okay, now that we've set all that up, the virus, the mold, all of it, who in the hell would have the knowledge to pull any of this off? Well, once again, we go back to RE7. We learn more about Brandon Bailey. Brandon Bailey is one of the co-founders of Umbrella that was often overlooked by the big three. He broke away after the collapse of Umbrella and started the Connections, making more advanced bioweapons to sell on the black market. His hate for Spencer ran deep. He wanted nothing more than to crush Spencer's legacy, but it turns out that wouldn't be too hard to accomplish because Spencer's ego would always get in the way. Spencer wanted forced evolution. He wanted the perfect human. Bailey, on the other hand, wanted control. Spencer rejected the mold, whereas Bailey fully accepted it and saw its true potential. Now imagine Bailey taking Spencer's precious T-virus, refined through decades of survival, and merging it with the mold Spencer dismissed. That's not just advancement, that's humiliation. But Bailey hasn't appeared in the modern timeline yet. Just speculation that he might still be alive, which does raise the question, is he in control here or is someone finishing his work? Now we circle back to Victor Gideon. He doesn't look like a visionary. He looks like a man following a design, especially when he says stuff like this.
Because my master made you who you are.
This is a man that worships, that follows something he perceives as greater than him, his master's work. He's harvesting dying survivors, he's acquiring refined strains, he's seeking stability. Bailey had the vision, now Gideon is seeing it through. Leon isn't a super soldier. He's just a guy who survived Raccoon City, but surviving didn't save him. The virus has been quietly killing him for 28 years. And now, there's no outrunning it. The virus has learned, the mold links everything together, Grace keeps the system from collapsing, Bailey built the plan, Gideon is making sure it happens. And somewhere in the middle of it all, the girl in white, calm, observing, waiting for the moment when she can tip the balance. Resident Evil 9 isn't about stopping an outbreak. It's about what happens when survival finally runs out, when the people we care about are no longer enough. We just have 2 weeks until Resident Evil 9 is finally here. We'll be covering every twisted detail along the way and when it drops. We've also officially opened up memberships. If you want to support the channel directly and get access to new perks, hit the join button. But whether you're a member or just watching, if you're subscribed, you are in the dead zone. We are the Respawn Bros. Thank you for stopping by, and as always, keep dying, keep trying.